dawn whispers across your window, and with it rises the familiar ache of longing, an ache that asks whether hope still breathes when answers linger just beyond reach. You stand in that fragile hush where yesterday's questions and tomorrow's uncertainties mingle like mist, and even silence feels holy because God is present within it. In this tender moment, you praise the one whose strength outlasts your sleepless hours, whose grace flows gentle as first light. Today invites you to release every anxious plan, to surrender schedules that cannot birth a miracle, and to listen for the soft footfall of His promise. Wait for the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage. Psalm 27:5-3. This verse reminds you that waiting is not weakness but worship, and courage is formed in quiet trust. Which hidden burden will you place in His open hands? What desired breakthrough will you dare to entrust to His timing? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the unfolding journey of longing toward dawn. Your breath hovers in the cool air, carrying the weight of unanswered prayers that have lingered longer than the stars above. You feel every heartbeat echo with desire, each pulse a silent plea that heaven would break its seeming hush. Still, the morning breeze brushes your face, reminding you that even longing can be a gift, an arrow pointing you toward the giver rather than the gift itself. You watch the sky blush with faint rose and gold, and you realize that creation itself waits daily for the sun, never doubting its return. So too, you can wait for the one who spoke light into being. Though yesterday's disappointments spread like shadows, you refuse to let them define today. You inhale deeply, naming aloud the miracle you seek. Healing for a body, reconciliation for a relationship, clarity for a tangled path. And as the words leave your lips, you sense their weight lessen. You remember the blind man who cried out despite the crowd's objections, his persistence opening the door to sight. The Luke 18:3-8. His story assures you that heaven hears even when earth seems loud with doubt. Like him, you claim your place at the roadside of mercy, refusing to let fear silence your cry. You picture Jesus pausing, turning, drawing near, he who always notices the overlooked and honors brave honesty. You speak plainly, Lord, I long for, letting your unvarnished need rise like incense. Stay in that honesty. Let no self-consciousness shrink your petition, for the Father cherishes transparency. If tears come, welcome them. Each drop carries a fragment of yearning that words cannot hold. As they fall, imagine them watering unseen soil where tomorrow's miracle may bloom. Trust that nothing offered in sincerity is wasted. Every sigh becomes a seed in His faithful hands. Now, shift your gaze from the H to the artist shaping your story. Recall times when quiet prayers were later answered in startling ways. Moments when provision arrived just as resources ran dry, or comfort arrived precisely when hope seemed lost. Those memories are stones of remembrance, proof that the valley you walk today is not endless. Lay them like a path beneath your feet, each testimony guiding you forward. Then, breathe again, slower, deeper, letting oxygen carry promise through your veins. Whisper gratitude for the very capacity to desire, for it reveals life still pulsing, faith still stirring. Believing is risk, yet it is also reward. It keeps your spirit aligned with possibility. Let courage accompany that belief, knowing the one who knit desire into your soul is also weaving its fulfillment in His perfect design. pause, palms open, heart lifted. The dawn now brightens, mirroring the quiet resolve settling within you. You do not know how or when the miracle will arrive, but you know the maker of mornings. Rest there in sacred anticipation, allowing your longing to become a candle that glows rather than scorches. Then step forward into the day, carrying a hope that will not be extinguished by delay. Your soul settles into an unhurried stillness, the room breathing with the muted hush that lingers just before birds unveil their first flute. Like notes, you hear nothing but your own pulse and the wind brushing half-opened curtains, yet the quiet is not empty. It hums with possibility. In this fragile pause you notice hope's smallest ember glowing, not the blaze of triumph, but a coal that refuses to go dark. Like the silver thread along the horizon, it pledges light, even while darkness still claims the sky. You recall that thunderous wonders often begin as whispers. The sea stood silent before it parted. Empty jars waited motionless before heaven filled them with oil. So you practice the discipline of still expectation, choosing not to rush, clutch, or bargain. You breathe as evenly as the tide, letting each exhale carry out noise, and each inhale welcome gentle assurance. When stray fears knock, you greet them with truth. The one who charts galaxies leans close to your single candle flame, shielding it with infinite care. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul that seeks him. Lamentations 3:25. This promise reminds you that waiting is not wasted motion. It is fertile ground where divine goodness takes root before blossoming in sight. Picture a seed sleeping beneath rich soil. It knows nothing of sunrise, yet trusts the instinct coded within its shell. Rain soaks unseen roots long before greenery greets the eye, and underground growth is no less marvelous for being hidden. Your quiet hope is that seed. Every silent prayer, every decision to believe when statistics glare, is moisture nourishing the unseen. You do not tug on sprouts to measure progress. You simply keep the soil warm with gratitude and watered with scripture. In due time, shoots will pierce earth, testifying that hidden seasons were essential, not incidental. Therefore, let today be shaped not by the size of your evidence, but by the steadiness of your gaze. When conversation drifts towards cynicism, you answer with a smile drawn from deeper wells. When schedules clamor, you pause for one heartbeat, remembering that calendars do not command destiny. Your hope may remain quiet, yet it is not frail. It draws strength from the same Spirit who lifted dawn over an empty tomb. Carry it like a lantern through hallways, marketplaces, phone calls, and whispered prayers. Let its glow remind any watching soul that endurance itself is radiant. Return to this inner sanctuary often. Let the rhythm of your footsteps echo a mantra of trust, and when frustration flares, at traffic, at reports, at silence, take 3 measured breaths. Murmur, hope is working, even when you cannot see its hands. Replay stories of barren women who sang lullabies before cradles existed, of exiles who rebuilt ruins stone by stone. Their chronicles prove that waiting seasons become sacred bridges. In lunchroom chatter or solitary commutes, stretch your awareness to sense unseen architecture forming around your petitions, and bless the architect whose timing secures the structure, as evening will someday testify to morning's faithfulness. So coming days will reveal why you dare to trust in silence. Until then, Hold your ember close, shielded yet shining, and walk forward unhurried, confident that the author of miracles writes sentences in invisible ink long before they appear in daylight. Soft light now settles across the floorboards, and the hush deepens into something weightier than quiet. It becomes communion. You notice that the world around you has begun to stir, yet within, a holy stillness lingers like untouched snow. Here, trust is refined, not in clamor but in the pregnant pause, where God says much by seeming to say nothing. You rest in this pause, knowing that the silence itself is a language, one that teaches you to lean on promise rather than visible proof. You remember Elijah on the mountain, waiting through windstorm, earthquake, and fire until the whisper arrived. Say 1 Kings 19:12. The story reminds you that divine presence often drapes itself in subtlety, so your spirit, not your senses, may discern it. Thus you draw nearer, not straining to decode every hint, but surrendering to the whisper's cadence. You sit, palms open, letting the weight of unspoken assurances steady your breathing. Hours may pass today before you detect guidance, yet guidance will come. It may hide in a line from a hymn, the kindness of a cashier, or the sudden recall of wisdom once read at midnight. Until then, you accept the unfelt as fully true, just as sailors trust the pull of stars concealed by clouds. Silence is not void, it is velvet, wrapping seeds of direction until they are ripe enough to cast light. Let this confidence shape your choices. When emails swarm like startled bees, you select responses grounded in peace, not panic. When waiting rooms stretch time, you inhabit them as sanctuaries, acknowledging that God's agenda cannot be hurried or hindered. Instead of demanding signs, you sow small acts of obedience. An encouraging text, a mindful pause before speaking, a secret generosity. Each deed is a stepping stone across waters unseen, and the ripples spread softly. They reach shores you will only recognize in retrospect. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be your strength. Ser Isaiah 37 with Thief. These words invite you to anchor strength not in activity, but in yielded confidence, where surrender becomes a fortress and quiet a shield. So you cultivate interior silence while life buzzes outwardly. You practice a gentle smile at interruptions, remembering that detours may hold the very guidance you seek. You offer silent blessings over co-workers, family. The stranger glancing your way on the sidewalk, each blessing a thread in the unseen tapestry mercy is weaving. You train your mind to soften at the edges, releasing rehearsed fears so that contemplation can breathe. When doubts resurface, asking whether you misheard, misstepped, or misbelieved, you answer with the memory of past fidelities. The bill paid at the last hour, the diagnosis reversed, the comfort delivered when sorrow sharpened. You catalogue these mercies like constellations, mapping the night so tomorrow's silence cannot disorient you. And if night falls with no visible miracle, you do not label the day barren. You regard it as a field lying fallow, collecting nutrients for abundant harvest. You whisper gratitude for the unseen roots stretching beneath the surface, believing they grow stronger in the dark. Then you close your eyes, entrusting both the lingering questions and the dawning answers to the keeper of your breath. Morning rippens into full daylight, and with it arrive tasks that pull at your sleeves. Emails blinking, dishes stacked, meetings scheduled, decisions waiting. Yet beneath the bustle beats a quiet assurance. You do not walk into responsibility alone. The God who authored sunrise steps beside you, offering vigor as constant as breath. Strength here is not the roar of heroics, but the steady hum of grace that turns ordinary movements into worship. You tie your shoes, and each knot becomes a silent amen. You brew coffee, and its aroma testifies that provision reaches even the smallest senses. Remember Israel gathering manna, enough for the day, never stockpiled, always fresh at dawn. So you gather today's measure of resilience, trusting tomorrow's portion will appear with new light. You resist the myth of self-sufficiency, choosing instead to inhale dependence, and act more courageous than independence ever proves. When deadlines tighten like cords, you loosen your grip on perfection, allowing excellence shaped by peace to emerge. When conversation grows tense, you anchor your tone in kindness, knowing gentle answers wield surprising power. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. These words reveal that limitations are doorways through which divine power enters. So you welcome help rather than hide need. You carry this verse like a compass. Its direction sets your stride, not hurried, not sluggish, but paced by reliance. With each assignment, you pause for a breath that whispers, strength within, not beyond. You discover that endurance expands when shared, a colleague's burden lifted, a child's question answered patiently, a stranger's glance met with genuine warmth. Service becomes synergy. As you pour out, fresh supply flows in. Guard your inner wellspring. When fatigue creeps in midday, step outside if possible. Let sunlight paint your eyelids gold. Let wind rearrange worry. Even a minute beneath open sky can realign perspective, reminding you that horizons are wide and mercy wider. Should indoor walls confine you, close your eyes and picture waves advancing toward shore, tirelessly returning. Such imagery trains your mind to expect renewal. Be mindful of the narratives you rehearse. Speak life over your own soul. You are upheld, equipped, chosen for this moment. Let no whisper of inadequacy linger unchallenged. Counter it with gratitude for skills already honed. Lessons still forming, companions provided. Strength grows in honest appraisal, not denial of frailty, but recognition of sustaining grace. As afternoon shadows lengthen, your tasks may remain unfinished, yet their weight feels lighter. You have practiced surrender in motion. Each keystroke, phone call, and quiet yes, an offering on the altar of ordinary hours. In these offerings, miracles germinate. Though unseen now, they will bloom in due season. Evening will testify that supernatural support threaded through every mundane detail. When night finally drapes the sky, reflect on moments when unexpected energy lifted you above fatigue, when wisdom surfaced mid-conversation, when patience prevailed against unrest. Collect these memories like polished stones, stacking them as an altar of remembrance beside your bed. Then rest, knowing the same presence who fueled your daylight sings lullabies over your sleep, ready to awaken you tomorrow with fresh strength for new mercies. First light spreads across the horizon, and something within you recognizes this gentle blaze as more than a sunrise. It feels like promise breaking surface, like a bud nudging through soil at the exact appointed hour. Yesterday's hush held hope. Today's glow begins to unveil fulfillment. You are not yet standing amid trumpet blasts of victory, but you sense quickened air, a subtle shift that whispers, "Look again." The landscape you have walked in prayerful patience now gathers color, and each hue reminds you that heaven never forgot your pleading. Notice how shadows retreat without protest. Darkness does not argue when radiance arrives. In the same way, disappointment cannot linger where divine intention steps forward. You recall mornings when you trudged through gloom, speaking faith despite etching doubt. Those declarations were not wasted. They seeded this moment. Even if the answer appears small, a returned text, a softened tone, a fresh idea, treat it as dawn's very first beam. Lift it high in gratitude, for celebration multiplies blessing much like sunlight coaxes petals open. Allow wonder to guide you. Let eyes linger on commonplace marvels that echo the greater miracle forming, dew clinging to grass, birds slicing sky with effortless wings, neighbors exchanging quiet hellos. Each detail rehearses the choreography of grace, reminding you that the same hand painting clouds is stitching breakthrough into your story. You walk through rooms once filled with anxious pacing, now noticing peace pooling in corners like warm light on wooden floors. Your breath deepens, and with it rises an anthem. Nothing is impossible for the Creator of beginnings. Carry that anthem into tasks. When you draft an email, frame words with expectancy. When you step into conversation, listen for hints of reconciliation. When a decision looms, believe provision has already scouted the path ahead. Your posture changes. Shoulders lift, pace steadies, because confidence is no longer borrowed from distant promise. It springs from glimpses unfolding before you. You feel free to act boldly, yet humility keeps your movements gentle. Aware that all bloom traces back to unseen roots nurtured by God alone. Guard against the subtle thief of comparison. Another's story may feature louder fireworks, yet your candlelit dawn carries equal wonder. Refuse to measure glory by volume. Measure it by the nearness of the Father's touch. His artistry custom fits miracles so intimately that they address nuances only you and He shared in whispered midnight prayers. Treasure that intimacy. It is miracle within miracle. Let testimony take shape. Jot details in a journal. Send an encouraging note to someone still waiting. Speak aloud the evidence of God's faithfulness at your dinner table. Each retelling fans fresh flame in hearts grown cold by delay. You become a herald of hope, not through grand speeches, but through living proof that patient trust is rewarded. And as your story circulates, you realize this dawning belongs to a larger tapestry. Countless lives lit by the same sunrise, each ray weaving collective brilliance. Evening will come again, yet you need not fear returning dimness. Dawn has taught you that light is relentless. It might dip below horizon, but it never departs the earth. So you close today with hands uplifted, confident that tomorrow carries further unfolding. Miracle has begun. Now it will grow, guided by the same love that called it forth. Rest secure in that certainty, for what starts in morning glow will broaden into full noon glory, timed perfectly by the Lord of seasons. The morning that once found you kneeling in yearning now beholds you standing in quiet radiance, and every step you take becomes a living letter of God's faithfulness. You move through hallways, markets, and family rooms as one who has tasted promise. Even your silence carries invitation. Faces you pass carry their own invisible weights, illness unspoken, dreams delayed, wounds still tender, and your presence whispers that miracles remain possible. You do not need grand speeches, the calm in your eyes, the patience in your tone, the warmth of your listening heart all proclaim what heaven can do with a surrendered life. Let your light so shine before others that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. St. Matthew 5:6. These words remind you that everyday kindness is a lighthouse, drawing wandering hearts toward divine hope. So you share gentle stories of provision, how peace arrived at midnight, how a door opened when logic said otherwise. You frame each detail with humility, careful to spotlight the giver rather than the gift. Some may smile politely, others may lean closer, hungry for assurance. Either response is holy ground, for seeds fall whether soil looks ready or not. You trust the Spirit to water each seed in His season. Your witness extends beyond words. When conflict sparks, you choose restraint, modeling the patience once extended to you. When fatigue invites complaint, you answer with gratitude, remembering days when you begged for the strength you now carry. Even setbacks hold testimony, should another delay arise. You respond with the peace earned in previous nights of waiting, proving that faith's roots reach deeper than circumstances. He comforts you in all affliction so that you can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort you yourself have received. 2 Corinthians 1:4. This verse assures you that nothing you endured was wasted. Every valley equips you to guide another traveler toward higher ground. Notice how compassion multiplies. The encouragement you give at a bus stop echoes later in an office corridor. A quiet prayer whispered over a worried friend becomes courage that spreads like sunrise across their horizon. You may never trace every ripple, but heaven records them, weaving them into stories you will one day celebrate with joyful recognition. Guard humility as your badge. Miracles can tempt you to forget the wilderness that shaped your trust, yet remembering keeps your heart soft. Return often to the altar of gratitude, lighting fresh candles of praise. Celebrate others' breakthroughs as eagerly as your own, refusing envy, knowing the same river of mercy flows to all who thirst. When night descends, you lie down aware that today's testimony has brightened the world. Tomorrow you will rise to find new scenes awaiting grace, but the author of your story remains unchanged. Rest, then, in quiet joy, knowing that your life, once defined by waiting, is now a lantern guiding others through their darkest dawns. You inhale the hush of this new day, letting gratitude expand your chest like warm light across a field. You recall each moment of trust, each silent plea, each small obedience that led to today's quiet triumph, and you bless them all. May every breath you draw remind you that waiting was never wasted. May compassion flow effortlessly from your healed places, easing another's heavy heart. Walk gently, shine boldly, and remember, the same God who answered you delights to answer all who hope in Him. Pause now, anchor in that truth, and carry it into your day.